The Thames Valley Chamber of Commerce Sustainability Working Group is a business-led roundtable comprised of academic institutions, companies and organisations who all share the ambition to leave tomorrow's world in better health. The purpose of the working group is to bring business and their thought leaders together, helping to shape a Thames Valley response to the challenges presented by sustainability, climate change and the race to net zero. Our ambition is to develop and deliver a common aligned framework of action, which will focus on sustainability for long-term societal benefit. Our objective is to provide practical advice and establish a consistent, comparable set of metrics for any business starting on their journey to net zero.
The State of the Region report is a sustainability working group's latest project and is part of a larger work programme agreed by working group colleagues in response to the needs of the business community and the help required for business to reach net zero. Our past projects and work include our business sustainability checklist, which offers a practical approach to tackling carbon emissions, our pathway to net zero webinar, and the ongoing portfolio of sustainability-related case studies showcasing in-region good practice.
As part of the State of the Region report, the Thames Valley Chamber of Commerce developed a survey covering environmental, social and governance issues, ESG issues, affecting businesses in the Thames Valley. Although it should be noted, considering the urgency of the climate challenges we're facing, the primary focus of the survey was on the environmental aspect of ESG. This was the first time this had been done in the Thames Valley Chamber of Commerce region, and the objective was to gain a region-wide understanding of business perspectives on ESG and specifically our collective journey to net zero. This first survey will provide a baseline for us to understand the key challenges businesses within the region are facing, the opportunities that exist, and help us define how the Chamber can support businesses on their sustainability journey. In total, we had 154 responses to the survey. We had good representation from different industries across the region and from businesses of all sizes, ranging from businesses with less than 5 employees to some of the largest multinationals in the country. We followed up the survey with in-depth interviews. We interviewed 30 businesses in total, and this enabled us to explore some of the most important themes coming out of the survey in more detail and helped us better understand the challenges and issues that our member businesses are facing. The results, as you can imagine, are really interesting. And it's clear that this is an important issue and businesses are doing a huge amount to become more sustainable. However, it is also apparent that this will be an extremely challenging journey for all businesses. And there are some clear areas where the Chamber can support businesses on that journey. Details of the results from both the survey and interviews are in the report, as is the plan for next steps and future work.
Hello, I'm David Simon, a Professor of Geography at Royal Holloway, University of London, and also the Director of External Engagement for our School of Life Sciences and Environment. And it's in that capacity that I've come to collaborate closely over the last 2 or 3 years with the Thames Valley Chamber of Commerce. Because I specialize in cities, sustainability, climate change, and a related set of issues, I have been serving on the steering committee of the Chamber's new, relatively new, sustainability working group, which I helped to establish. And indeed, I work with a counterpart from Reading University, as well as Neil Trivedi and others, in helping to bring expertise both from within the business community, but also from universities, other knowledge sectors, to assist the very diverse membership of the Chamber. And when we were scoping the almost limitless range of tasks, activities, priorities that we might have set, after a horizon scan and assessment of what else was being provided, we settled on a series of interventions, including initially development of a toolkit specifically to help the SME sector for the very reasons that Neil just alluded to, that they lack the in-house capacity with a small number of people stretched across all the possible roles that an enterprise might require, and have neither the time nor the capacity, or indeed necessarily the knowledge, to fulfill the roles of addressing climate change and how to progress the firm towards net zero. And in that sense, we've developed toolkits. It has been implemented for the last 6 months or so. We've just completed a large survey, which about 150 members from across the size and sectoral spectrum have completed. And we're completing the first stage of analysis, which will feature prominently in this inaugural edition of the State of the Region report. I've worked with an MSc student of mine to undertake follow-up interviews of a sample of the respondents, again, ensuring diversity of sector, scale, and geographical location within the TVCC catchment. And we will then be analyzing those results subsequently to inform our work at a slightly deeper level and how best we might follow it up. In conclusion, I should just flag that anybody thinking that the impact of the COVID pandemic, Brexit, economic change, and all the other things that keep hitting us from left, right, and center mean that somehow we can soft pedal on meeting the climate change challenge and moving towards net zero, I recommend that you look at the 2023 annual report of the Climate Change Committee, which was submitted to Parliament 2 or 3 weeks ago, and which highlights with alarm how far the UK has fallen back since last year, 2022, both and in particular in relation to government action to fulfill its commitments. But actually, that's just a metaphor for society at large. And it really is one of those wicked challenges that no sector, no firm, no body can do alone. And it's by collaborating through membership organizations like this chamber that firms can help one another, peer-to-peer learning, other forms of support to move more rapidly along that pathway.
So here at the University of Reading, we are very much at the forefront of climate science and research to understand what impacts our changing climate will have. And the climate warming stripes featured in this new report offer a very simple visualization of the warming trend we've seen over the past 150 years. And some of the stats you may be familiar with, of the 10 hottest days on record, 9 of those have occurred since 1990. Of the 5 hottest days, 4 of those have been just in the last 3 years. And of course, last summer, we saw the hottest UK temperature on record. So we continue to see climate records being broken, not just in our region, but all around the world. It's rare to find a news program these days that doesn't report at least one example of an extreme weather event occurring somewhere in the world. And in recent years, the climate science has, for the first time, directly linked the extreme weather events we're experiencing with climate change. Although, of course, climate change predictions have always anticipated that such events, heat waves, droughts, forest fires, hurricanes, floods, would increase in frequency and severity as the climate warms. And of course, it is now very clear that it's human activity that is driving this warming through the buildup of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, mainly through burning fossil fuels, and that the key challenge globally to avoid runaway climate change is to urgently and dramatically reduce our carbon emissions. Yet, we're still emitting more and more carbon. And to avoid the worst impacts of climate change, we urgently need to reset onto a steep carbon reduction pathway, working towards net zero. Some governments have committed, including the UK, to net zero by 2050. But what was clearly highlighted at COP26 was to have any chance of achieving that, then we have to have we have to start reducing carbon rapidly over the rest of this current decade. And within our region, many organisations like the university and also local authorities like Reading and Wokingham have committed to reach net zero by 2030. Such is the urgency. For businesses, this is something that our customers are increasingly concerned about and expecting to see organisations they align with to be doing their bit. As consumers, their choices are increasingly be driven by wanting to make greener choices. The government will need to bring in more and more legislation that will impact all areas of business and drive us towards that decarbonisation, but also greater investment for innovation, finding green solutions and creating green jobs. So in that context, whatever your area of business, whatever the size of your business, it's time to think about how you may need to adapt to the changes that we'll see, but also look for those potential opportunities. We must work together to make the changes that will enable people, enable businesses, enable our communities, not only to survive, but to thrive in our rapidly changing climate.
So, hi, I'm Neil Trivedy from the Perfect Process Company. We specialize in green manufacturing. That's reducing the environmental impact of manufacturing operations. So we're talking about the survey and the survey results of the state of the nation. Well, it's a really innovative approach the Chamber has taken to the survey, and it's really provided some really great insights into green thinking deployment in the Thames Valley area. As a green manufacturing consultant and an interim operations director for a waste company, I can provide a practical, business-based response to the survey. In my current role, I've seen that the infrastructure exists in the UK to enable zero to landfill, to reuse and recycle everything. And that's a message we have to reinforce and expand into business. We need to build on this core message and ask the challenging question of why it is needed in the first place to get a true green approach to business, and look at the functionality of the items that we're using that cause us to go to landfill or to waste. The survey highlights that from a regulation perspective, the spot changes to environmental legislation are a challenge for business. On the receiving end, it feels like a knee-jerk reaction and consequently difficult to plan and implement. SMEs especially will have a feeling of fear of what is around the next corner. We'll have to keep some resources in the bank to deal with it, or more likely reprioritize in front of other business needs to be compliant. Clarity on long-term regulation plans for the environment would help here. Businesses need to move from a compliance-led culture to one that actively identifies and improves environmental performance. Big companies have the resources to say it's important, attend the meetings, and write it down in the annual report. And they may even get around to thinking about doing something as well, rather than just greenwashing words. SMEs, however, who make up most of the business, don't have the resources or capability to deliver environmental improvement, and will only do what they have to do to comply with the rules or to comply with their customer requirements. Tasks like this are typically added onto someone's role who is out of the room at the time. This needs to change to more of an environment first culture. And that's rather like how we talk about safety culture now, where there is an organic capability for continuous improvement in that area. We need the same kind of culture change approach for the environment. We need to help the SMEs by providing a framework, a roadmap, training and support to improve their capability and help them reduce their environmental impact. In summary, there's great will to get to net zero. The gaps that need closing are a consistent strategy, a roadmap to get us there, and training and coaching most of all to close that capability gap and guide businesses on their journey.